Doesn't it feel good to be a Lions fan today? Let's be honest. It's Victory Monday, Celebration Monday, whatever you want to call it. It feels great. And once again, the Detroit Lions have shown the national media and all of us fan base that this isn't the same old Lions. This is the brand new Lions. Whatever matrix, whatever saying you got, here's one thing we can say for sure. In this offseason, whether you're Minnesota, Chicago, or Green Bay, is everybody looking and saying, man, from here forward, all roads lead through Detroit. Let's dive into that, what happened last night, where we go from here, all that above in today's Lions Talk Live. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host, once again, Dan Thornton. I do want to thank you all for tuning in to Lions Talk Live today. If you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. It takes you just a brief moment to hit the subscription button, maybe a thumbs up, and leave some thoughts in the comment section below. So, what do we say about the Lions today? They are over 500. They did go 5-1 against all their division foes. And yes, unfortunately, they're going to be watching the playoffs from the comfort of their own home or Ford Field. But it doesn't mean the Lions don't have news to break down today. We've got a number of rookies on both sides of the ball who have stepped up, most noticeably the defensive side of the ball. So here's my first question I'm going to pose to everybody out there watching in YouTube today. Where do you place Aiden Hutchinson among the rookies for this year? Do you think he's the defensive rookie of the year, overall rookie of the year, whatever it may be? Here's my argument for him being defensive rookie of the year. I guess the Sauce Gardner, he's pretty special. But the other part of it is he's so special that he really doesn't have a ton of stats. His team also finished with a losing record. So can we say he had a bigger impact on the Jets than Aiden Hutchinson? That's going to be one of the debates probably when these two people face off for Rookie of the Year, because it's probably coming down to these two. I'm not going to dive too deeply into a non-Lions player with Sauce, but here's what I will say for Hutchinson. From the very first snaps of preseason to where you saw him on Lambeau Field yesterday, we can say he was the right player at number 2, in my opinion, because his ability to affect the pass. And to be fair, as the season went on, he became almost more of a linebacker at times. Defensive ends that dive into coverage aren't unheard of, but they are rare. Defensive ends that dive into coverage and then move to anticipate passes and pick them off are pretty rare. And you saw it last night. I thought, if you watch Lions Talk Live recap of last night's game against Green Bay, you didn't see that I pointed out, as I'm sure most of you watching noticed, that Aaron Glenn is getting more and more flexibility with Hutchinson. Not only did he drop him back with 4 down linemen rushing the quarterback, they dropped him back and he moved around basically roaming like a middle linebacker. Roughly 6'8", that's a heck of a middle linebacker to have to throw over. So kudos to Aaron Glenn and kudos to Aiden Hutchinson as this guy continues to grow, to play multiple spots and do multiple different variations of different tasks on the defensive side of the ball. Getting 2 more sacks last night put him at 9.5, along with the 3 picks, the fumble recoveries, everything else. Those are some stats. I'm going to talk about another rookie real quick, and again, another defensive one, and that's going to be James Houston. While he didn't record sacks last night, which was, to be fair, he gets them more often than he doesn't. What I was happy to see during the game is, much like Hutch, he was asked to do multiple things on D, which he had not been asked to do prior. In his first couple of games in the NFL, he was just about rushing the quarterback, and I get it. He's phenomenal at it. But yesterday, they used him to help on first and second down against the run. Something he's still not great at, but it was much better watching him out there than in the first couple of games of the year. The other thing, much like Hutch, they dropped him into coverage repeatedly. Sometimes on receivers, more often than not across the middle in a zone coverage. But the fact that Aaron Glenn, in a game that, let's be fair, every Lions fan, Lions player, and the coaching staff wanted to win, the fact that they expanded his role along with Hutchinson shows the growing amount of maturity, faith, and understanding that both of these two players have, and it really gives some strong indication what we may be seeing happen next year. And these are positive things for all Lions fans, especially if you're a fan of defensive football. The next one I'm going to talk about is, probably no real surprise anybody watching last night's game, Kirby Joseph. Whatever it is about this guy, he's got wavelength, Professor X type of communication and understanding of what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. Because, yes, he is the first player in history to pick off Aaron Rodgers 3 times in a season. If you want to get real technical, he did it a 4th time. The 4th pick in last night's game, the second of the game, was waved off by a penalty against John Kaminsky. But the fact that the Lions coaching staff in a game they absolutely wanted to win continue to go single high safety and obvious 3rd down passing situations, blitzing the house on Rodgers and leaving this rookie on an island and saying, hey, do what you can to help out with our secondary. And 2 times on the night, he made the plays. There were 2 other times he was just a shade off. Whatever it was, Kirby Joseph is got a real strong understanding of Aaron Rodgers and his ability to step up on the moment, make plays. It was really impressive. He's come a long way from the guy that we saw in Dallas, where he was kind of making a couple mistakes in coverage. Yes, he did get that big hit that forced a fumble, but let's be fair, like with Houston and Hutch, you're seeing another Lions rookie defender step up, make plays, and give us a lot of reason to have faith in the future. The other thing I'll say about Joseph that I was impressed with last night is his ability to come up and play run support, especially with as much time as he spent deep in coverage. This kid continues to grow and more, which gives the Lions a lot more flexibility. Like we talked about with Houston and Hutch, where they're moving them to non-traditional positions, having them do more and more expanded roles on the defense. That's also the same with Kirby Joseph. While I pointed out there were often on 3rd and long situations where we blitzed the house and left everybody man-to-man across the board with just him as the deep center fielder, they also asked him to roll him up on other plays and play over the middle as a linebacker, almost a middle linebacker at that. And he did a great job with it. The Lions' run defense wasn't perfect, but it definitely did enough against the Green Bay rush attack to force Rodgers to never be comfortable with play-action passes. They did force Green Bay into enough 3rd and long situations where they kept their offense off track and not allowed them to get into the rhythm and groove that they typically have over their prior 4-game win streak. All right, enough about the defense. Let's talk a little bit about the offense. Let's start with the rushing attack and work our way out. While the Packers were clearly, like in the first contest, they were putting 8 guys in the box. I think you could argue 30 to 40% of the time they put 9 guys in the box and said, if you're going to beat us, it's going to be with Goff. And, they did shut down in the opening half much of our rushing attack. Goff, to his discredit, the first half I thought he played one of his worst halves of the season. He was off target, threw some wobbling passes, and a lot of his passes were low. My anticipation is why so many of them were low is probably there's a little bit more stick to those gloves than he anticipated. And in the colder weather, when he was trying to release, difference between it being up top and when the follow through taking it down to the lower projection, it is what it is. Second half, though, wasn't so much the case. All right, enough of the defensive rookies. I think you guys get the point. Joshua Pascal played some minutes too, did some good things, nothing breakout, but you continue to see him develop. I thought Barnes did a great job, and definitely, in my opinion, Malcolm Rodriguez had his best game in some time. Doesn't mean Rodrigo has played poorly over the season. I thought he started the season off incredibly strong, kind of went into a little bit of a lull over about we'll say a 5 to 7 game span. But last night you could see him all over the field, being asked to pick up running backs and tight ends in coverage, and even helped out a couple times when Rodgers attempted to scramble. You could see the progress he's made in pass coverage at the start of the year. That was really his Achilles heel. Rodrigo is great at filling lanes, shedding blocks, and helping out in the run game. His downside has been, since he came out of college, asking him to play pass coverage. But last night, like we pointed out with the other rookies, Aaron Glenn said we're just going to roll the dice and go with it. He asked him to play far more pass coverage than he had in any time I could say this season. And give Rodrigo some credit. He did an admirable job. He busted up a few passes and made a few key tackles, which kept the Green Bay offense from getting first downs, and that kept them from scoring points. Oddly enough, Goff came out early in the second quarter, hit a couple shots here and there, and then about midway through the second quarter, I'm sure we all could remember the flea flicker that he hit Jameson Williams on the left sideline for a touchdown. Yes, it did get called back because of a penalty. And yes, in the third quarter, Goff hit another big bomb to Khalif Raymond that I really thought was a touchdown, but the officials rolled him down at about the half-yard line. In either situation, what that did for the Detroit Lions' rushing attack and passing attack is put the Packers defense finally in a bad situation. They could no longer commit to 9 or 8-man fronts to stop the Detroit run. They had to drop a second and sometimes third guy into coverage from the safety and linebacker spots. But what that did is that provided enough space for Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, and Jackson to hit the running plays and get that aspect of the Detroit stagnant offense from the first half going just enough to start pushing the ball. The other thing that it did in the symbiotic relationship between the running game and the passing game is now all of a sudden Goff had a little bit more room to wiggle around, use a little bit of play action, and start hitting more and more passes. And who wasn't proud of St. Brown for the butt catch last night, the butt leg catch, whatever you want to call it, a heck of a catch. And the Detroit Lions offense started emerging more and more. We were talking about the rookies on the defensive side of the ball. There weren't so many rookies on the offensive side of the ball, but I do want to point out this. With Amon-Ra St. Brown, where do you rank him as far as NFL receivers? I'm going to say this. The guy's been around 2 seasons, and what a win that was with a draft pick. I mean, this kid is special in my mind, and if I had to rate him on the NFL scale, I don't want to try to be biased, so I'm just going to say he's probably somewhere between 13 and 9. I mean, the stats he's putting up are incredible. Would he do that on every other team? I'm not going to speculate with that, but I'm going to say this. The second-year player for us is invaluable. He can really help move the chains like few players the Lions have had in the last 30 years. The other part is DeAndre Swift's role, once he recovered from the injury, has increasingly looked promising. His ability to come out of the backfield and hit out wide run plays puts defenses in bad situations. If the Detroit Lions could ever figure out a way to have both running backs in the backfield at the same time, I think that would be a very difficult proposition for many defenses. Because Jamal up the middle or Swift going out wide, I think that would be a very promising prospect for our offense in 2023. Another question I want to throw at you, the viewing audience, is last night, Jameson Williams got the most snaps he had of any game this season. Do you take that as a sign that he is starting to come around the corner? And with this offseason, could he potentially be the home run threat from 2023? We're anticipating him to be. So that leads me into this point. What do you do with Josh Reynolds and DJ Chark then? In my opinion, DJ Chark, since about, whatever it is, the last 6 games or so, has really turned on the corner, been healthy, and shown you why he was an all-pro before. He's got rare speed, maybe not J-Mo's speed, but it's up there. He's not too far off him. He's also a bigger body that seems to be able to move around and get physical with defensive backs, something that isn't the forte for Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds, while he doesn't have the burner speed that Chark has, nor does he has physical, he is a reliable receiver all the same who gets in and out of his cuts quickly and has sure hands. So I don't see a huge difference between the two, but I will say this. You can't teach size and you can't teach speed. And one thing Chark does have an abundance of is speed. In my opinion, the idea of him and Jameson Williams out there with St. Brown, that's going to be difficult for most defenses to handle. So, do you keep Reynolds or keep Chark or try to keep them both? So, I'm not going to make this a horribly long video today. I'm sure most of you who stayed up and watched the game might be like me and that you're feeling a little tired today. On top of watching the game, I then had to do the video and edit it and get it up. So, again, we're probably just a little groggy today. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a year in review video on the Detroit Lions. I'm going to try to break down each of the positions, the games, things of that sort, and do this probably over a 2-day span. So if you have any thoughts or comments on information you'd like me to try to include or breakdowns into those videos, go ahead and leave that in the comments section below. Otherwise, I'm going to wish you all well. Hope you're all celebrating the end of another Lions season and a great end of the season at that. Take care, enjoy your day, and if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so, leaving a thumbs up and a comment in the section below. I'll see you tomorrow on another Lions Talk Live.